to our work session. Any questions about the agenda? Consent agenda? Okay, we'll have a spotlight. Update, I assume you want to do tomorrow night, Mr. Gill?
Yes, sir.
And the Stewart's Creek?
Yeah, Joe Binkley will be here, and Mr. Clardy give us an update on
Good.
the design.
10 will also be tomorrow night?
Yes, sir.
Can I go back to number 8 and ask?
Sure.
Obviously, since new legislation is not all the way through on what may happen with evaluations with the new tenure situation might be, any discussion or thought process of how that's going to be handled? As much as I understand what may happen, how much more evaluations of teachers are going to have to take place and how that should be handled.
We've got we have 3 separate 4-day trainings in June. Each principal, I think we did a study, we'll do at least each principal and assistant principal will have 22 on average evaluations a year. They've increased the number of observations from, it's based on can be anywhere from 2 to 6. They can range in time from 15 minutes probably to an hour. I think it will virtually overwhelm principals with respect to those responsibilities. We are also training folks down here in the instruction department, a few others, to be observers, even though that's not what we'd like to do. Also, we're probably going to come to the board requesting 5 retirees, 5 or 6, be allowed to work 120-day contracts to do observations as part of the process. The principal would ultimately conduct the final evaluation. But once again, I know Mr. Donald Jernigan always sees a big picture on this. You know, we're told to do these things, but we're not told how they intend to fund them. They fall back on us to do. So I don't know when principals will have time to discipline, meet and greet parents, monitor cafeterias, and all their other responsibilities. It's going to be a hurdle for them.
Wayne?
In today's setting, how long would a standard teacher evaluation take? And what do you project with the new?
They do. If you're on the career ladder, you've done twice in a 10-year cycle. They do 3 observations, 45, 50 minutes each, and you meet for your summative. However, you're not doing but about probably on average a third or a fourth of your faculty every year. Every new teacher you're doing till they're tenured, and then the ones that are beyond tenure, you basically hit them twice in a 10-year cycle. So it's manageable now. It's doable now. It's going to be tough.
Well, that's my point. I mean, I've been there and done that. Based on the way I read it, there's just not any way that we could do that without bringing on some extra help to make that happen. I'm glad to hear that's being considered.
Other questions on that one? I believe that takes us to 11.
Textbook adoption report, Ed 5099, and textbook certificate of adoption report, Ed 2153. School system is required to submit textbook adoptions annually on forms provided by the Tennessee Department of Education. The local textbook adoption report shows newly adopted textbooks for 2011. Textbook adoption includes K-12 mathematics. All textbooks are on a 6-year cycle, and we'll recommend that you approve. The textbook adoption report, ED 5099, and the certificate of adoption report, ED 2153, is presented.
Great.
What do we actually do with our textbooks that are outdated? I saw something on TV the other night about there was a system had given some to another system, and so I just don't didn't have
sold back, and don't we use some as supplemental material occasionally?
Yeah, most of them are sold back.
Yeah.
I didn't know, but obviously if they're outdated for one system, the other one usually, unless some systems do allow a lot longer term, do they not? I'm not talking about necessarily,
In Tennessee, it's a 6-year cycle, but if you miss a cycle for a subject for a year, you can find yourself for 12 years. So if people trying to go 12, they
Right.
wind up buying those used books.
Yeah, there's a pretty substantial investment in textbooks, as you might imagine.
Oh, yeah, that
If
was
you
a-
got any, like, for example, what would the math textbook adoption cost us?
We've budgeted 4.2 million this year. Somewhere a third of that will go to growth. But until we see the orders, we won't.
And the rest towards math?
The rest toward math. That's one of our more expensive adoptions.
I believe this was a small system, and they were talking about something about 700,000 to replace, and they didn't have the money. So, I guess it affects everybody, but we do get some return back then.
Tom?
Jeff, when I was looking at the financial report, we haven't spent a lot on textbooks.
No, sir.
We spend it at the end of the...
Yes. We ordered growth texts, and then one of our publishers, and it turned out being the publisher that we adopted for the math books, is offering a discount this spring if you had ordered, remember what the threshold was? Several $100,000. So we ordered other books from them that we knew we would need next year, so we qualified for that discount. So that should help us.
It was in the low hundreds of thousands that we've spent so far, but we've...
Yes, sir. Yeah,
like
the
you said.
bulk of it, we placed that order May, early June to happen next year.
Okay. When I looked at that, I thought that, but...
Okay. Other questions? Number 12 is also textbook related.
Textbook adoption for a book not on the state list, Form ED 5196. The state allows for the adoption of a textbook not on the state list. Our committee has recommended the Discrete Math book, Thinking Mathematically, Blitzer Pearson Prentice-Hall 2011, ISBN, and reflects the numbers. Mr. Odom went to one of his primary sources, Wikipedia, to give you a discrete math definition. And it is, discrete math is the study of mathematical structures that are fundamentally discrete rather than continuous, in contrast to real numbers that have the property of varying smoothly. The objects studied in discrete mathematics, such as integers, graphs, statement logic, do not vary smoothly in this way, but have distinct, separated values. Discrete mathematics, therefore, excludes topics in continuous mathematics, such as calculus and analysis. Concepts and notations from discrete mathematics are useful in studying and describing objects and problems in branches of computer science, such as computer algorithms, programming languages, cryptography, automated theorem proving, and software development. And recommend that you approve that. Now, if you recall, next year we'll be expanding our math offering into schools because the state is going to 4 offerings. Don, you want to say anything about this?
The sophomores this year is the group that's got the additional requirements with the American Diploma Project, with the revision. So there, a lot of students that next year, this will be their 3rd year, and then the year after 4th year. So for the next 2 years, you're going to see students taking additional mathematics courses. Not everybody is going to take calculus, so you start looking for other things. There'll also be probably a bridge math that will kick in also, which is really very similar to the one at the university level, that if you take very often, if you didn't score high enough on your ACT or something, that you have to take that one to get in, that'll probably be more of the bridge math. But they push most of that down to the high school level. In essence, what is happening here.
Right.
Other than the fact we have to approve it, what about the financial reimbursement on this? Is it, that would be 0?
That's back to Mr. Jeremy's statement.
Local money will take care of that.
Wayne?
I guess I'm almost surprised that someone would buy our books after we've used them for 6 years, because I would think they would be in pretty rough shape by that time, so we don't get much. You know, with with math being pretty finite in the way you teach it, are these new textbooks, do they come up with a new teaching methodology? Is that why we go to a new textbook?
When you change national or state standards is what drives it. So what you've got going on now, you got the dissemination of new national core standards beginning to come into it, and so that's what changes it. The biggest textbook purchasers are California,
Texas.
and Florida, in that order. They put things in for Tennessee and all like that, but basically that's what you run into. But if you get a 12 years, sometimes we can't purchase it. And we buy used textbooks too, folks, and we can, if it's somewhere in the cycle, that we need one more year, a little bit of growth or something like that. If we can find a used textbook, we'll buy it.
Okay.
Other questions? And Mr. Odom, I would grade you down for citing Wikipedia. Term paper. Since it's not, I guess we'll let you slide. 13.
Facilities. Energy study and operational cost review. Facility Services Incorporated has provided a proposal to Rutherford County Schools Engineering and Construction Department upon request for an energy study and operational cost review. We have several schools in our system where there is an opportunity to reduce utility cost above the current savings from the high efficiency lighting fixture and motion detector projects. I'd also throw in there, we've done geothermal and looked at other ways to save money. Engineering and construction would ultimately like to study all the schools in Rutherford County system. Schools for the study that we can currently fit into this year's budget are Blackman High School, $2,400, Laverne, $2,400, Wilson, $1,600, Smart Elementary, $1,600, Christiana, $2,000, Rockville Middle, $2,000. Total cost of the portion of the study and review will be $12,000. This professional service will be funded through the maintenance budget. The motion is to approve Facility Service Incorporated for an energy study and operational cost review in the amount of $12,000 for Blackman High School, Laverne High School, Wilson Elementary School, Smart Elementary School, Christiana Middle School, and Rockville Middle School. This is a professional service and will be funded through the maintenance budget. And Mr. Clardy will tell you, they'll look at equipment. There's ways now, they're finding ways to, you were talking earlier about, you don't need full light usage. They can find ways to regulate how much light radiates into the classroom. So instead of using 16 bulbs, you might be using 8. But I presume that there's a lot of potential there in there, Mr. Clardy. Sure.
When you asked me the question earlier, we were kind of focused on the high school and the new high school, and then you asked me the question about, what opportunities. So I was thinking high school when we were discussing that, and I thought you looked at me kind of funny, and I was thinking, but it's mainly, we'll go into study systems, as you said, but we've got some schools that are, for instance, using quite a bit of gas in the summertime and different things where we have dual systems in, a heater and a chiller. So we're going to study those systems and see what opportunities there are there. In other words, we may be using gas to dry the air out enough to keep moisture from forming on the inside while the air conditioner's running and those types of things. So we'll kind of be checking different circuits, metering it out to see what kind of usage there is, and then find what opportunities we have to reduce those costs.
Wayne.
Were these schools chosen because of some problematic issues like that?
Well, Blackman High School has always been an issue, and Smyrna Elementary School is an issue. Then there's another one on there, and then the other two schools that I have kind of represent that model of school that's built. So by checking one of them, we can maybe cover the whole gamut of those schools that were built. So, and we'll be able to compare some of the later schools to the earlier schools also that way.
Grant.
A lot of these programs or companies come in and will guarantee that if you go with their programs, that they will reduce consumption. And is there any type of guarantee on things of this nature?
Well, we haven't gotten that. I just want the study of what they think we can do. I haven't discussed anything about fixing the problem or commissioning to get it done or whatever. This is just a pure study so that we can take a look at what the problems are, and then we'll kind of cross that bridge a little bit later.
Okay, other discussion?
No, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Gary, Mr. Clardy, we hadn't rehearsed this question, but maybe if you don't have a good answer, you ought to plead the fifth, but how are our metal roofs holding up during, we've had an extraordinarily rough winter and spring.
They're doing good. The ones that we put on now, we are basically on the Eagleville School. We're replacing some roofing out there right now, but it's being paid for by the manufacturer of the material, and they're paying the labor on that to do that. Where we had some excess corrosion, and I think that's due to galvanic corrosion, where you have ion exchange between dissimilar metals. So we have now on the newer schools that we're building, since we've actually started the entire metal roofing, we're insulating all of the fasteners and that type of stuff, which is a huge difference. And other than fading a little bit, we can't find any problems with them at this point.
All right, thank you. B?
McFadden School of Excellence walking track and outdoor garden classroom. Dr. Blair, principal of McFadden School of Excellence, has requested permission to apply for grants and construct a walking track and outdoor garden classroom. The garden classroom will include a weather station, pond area, compost area, and a music art area. The walking track would be used for walking and PE activities. Both areas have been inspected by the Rutherford County Schools Engineering and Construction Department and are suitable for proposed use. And we'll recommend that you do that.
Discussion. 14.
Bus camera cabling staff addition. We're requesting board approval to add a level 6 bus camera cabling employee as soon as the new position can be filled. This position will be in the 2011-2012 general purpose school budget. Funding for the rest of the year will be handled through the staffing cleanup amendment. Reason for the request is that Genesis Concepts has notified Mr. Snell they will no longer be able to repair any more bus cameras. So this person would obviously assume those duties, but in addition to that, they might work on cameras within a school. They might partake in running cable in a school. There are any number of things that they might do when they're not repairing bus cameras. And with how many buses? 220, Ms. Snell? 216 buses. I think there's always a potential for some to go haywire with a bus camera and need repair. Might also, we're going to recommend that we do that. And after discussion, if there is any, Mr. Snell's going to give us, he and who else? Who's going to help you, Mike? Was it you and, I guess it's just Mr. Snell's going to talk about bus cameras.
Okay. Discussion.
What's a level 6 position?
They make about $15 an hour plus their benefits. Probably, what, 40, 45,000 a year?
Benefits in that range.
With the benefits, yeah.
If Genesis is telling us that they can no longer repair it, is there any reason for us to be concerned about whether or not we can continue to get parts and do those repairs? Is it the hardware that's being phased out?
There's not a problem with regards to, he's just getting out of the business. He's leaving that business. In fact, he's discussing family issues up in Rochester, New York, and he's just getting out of the business altogether.
Is there anyone else that represents that product that we should look at as an alternative?
Not in this local area, no. This gentleman worked with Angel Track when they came on board and installed the first round of cameras, so he had expertise in that area, and then he already had a business. Angel Track just used him, so we continued to use him after the initial installations, and so he's just now, after a couple of 3 years, decided to get and go in a different direction.
Grant.
Has the company fulfilled their obligations under our contract,
Yes.
time-wise and otherwise?
Yes.
Okay.
Do we have any experience, or is there an opportunity for us to train this individual, or how are we going to get them up to speed to be able to do this repair?
Well, we'll also, as we purchase more cameras, as we put more buses on, then what we'll do is utilize this individual with that installation of the new systems that we purchased, and that'll be the training ground that we utilize. Right now, we certainly have the ability to have a discussion with Angel Track. They have a technology department whereby that whoever we hire, whatever experience they already bring to the table, we'll be able to call the Angel Track and say, this is the issue I've got. Where do we need to go with regards to fixing that problem? It may be in a motherboard, it may be in some part of the cabling aspect, but they already are able to troubleshoot that for us.
Is it I mean, is it typically the hard drive or the motherboard? Is it complicated, or is it just a matter of having a part and plugging it back in?
Well, there are some, it's like a computer. That's exactly what it is. It utilizes a hard drive, but it takes a video camera. It's not like your laptop with a webcam on it. So things that can happen to your computer are things that happen to the computer or to the cameras on the bus. So it could be a hard drive issue, and if it's just a hard drive issue, that's a matter, I take care of a lot of those, where we run into the hard drive, for some reason or other malfunction, we put another hard drive in and it's ready to go. But then there could be a problem with the motherboard. You've heard that terminology when you're dealing with computers. It could be a problem with the chafing of a cable that now shorts out an issue, so you have to have someone who's got some electrical experience to go in and look at that case-by-case basis, and then find out based upon that what is the necessary things that we need to do.
Well, logically, as they grow older, they're going to need more maintenance. So are they 3 years old now?
Yes.
So, I mean, as we move on, they're just going to need more attention.
Is it,
Go ahead, Donald.
is that company in Alabama?
Yes, Dothan, Alabama.
That's what I was thinking. There was quite a discussion on that, you remember? Is where to go with Alabama or go with local here.
Other discussion? Now, is Mr. Stone going to talk tonight or tomorrow?
Anything else you want to add, Mike? Or
Well, I gave you the sheet at the last meeting with regards to the new procedures that were not new, but the procedures that are in place for the bus drivers to follow so that they can pass along any information that relevant to the county system so we can get it repaired.
Are they complying with that at this point, or?
Yes, they give us a call, let us know, and we get right on it.
Thank you.
All right. Ready for B.
building program amendment. The Board and County Commission have approved the $350,000 design for both phases of Eagleville school additions. This amendment provides the actual $350,000 in funds for this design by amending $250,099 in savings from the Oakland Middle School project and $99,901 from the Whitworth Buchanan Middle School project. It also amends $59,184 from the campus school renovation budget to the new elementary school's budget for architect fees. Cash in the new elementary school architect's fee line is being used to temporarily fund the design of Stewart's Creek High School. And we're recommending that you do those things.
Discussion. All righty. General discussion. Mr. Gill, you wanted to talk about weather.
Yeah, it's been when we have a rough winter and a rough spring, it's rough on the staff down here too, I can assure you that. It seems like weather generates about as much discussion as anything, as much ill will, but I can assure you that we've done our homework with respect to the principals and exhausted every effort to make sure we have appropriate notification systems in place, appropriate warnings and appropriate actions taken when storms hit. For example, when there's a tornado watch, we alert folks, there's a tornado watch in place. When there is a watch, we do allow parents to come and pick their children up. Obviously, they're their children, they want to pick their children up. They're entitled to do that. Warning is a separate issue. I think everybody knows the warnings when one's been spotted or there's a significant opportunity for a tornado to touch down. And yesterday, we had a warning at first that was put into place somewhere around 1:45, 2 o'clock, and it expired at 2:30, but it was later extended to 3 o'clock. And we went into code red and went into full tornado plan, which means that the kids are brought into safe zones and they hunker down and they get ready, and the teachers are down there, the staff's down with them, and we're fully prepared, hopefully, for a tornado. And when we do that, we instruct schools to make sure that the doors are open so that the people on the outside can come in and have a safe haven too. But we do not let parents retrieve their kids during a warning. Now, there's several reasons why. And one of the main reasons is they're hunkered down in the hallways. We're in full tornado mode, and there's nobody to go retrieve their child. Furthermore, it's kind of hard to identify when they're in that position, and the teacher, they too are in a safe mode. So, obviously, there are parents that don't agree with that. They think that they ought to have the right to go into the school and go down the hall and search for their child and take their child out of the building. We disagree. And we think that we're doing the right thing and the prudent thing for kids and for parents. Now, what we did yesterday, I felt like we did an overall good job. We had 6 or 7 calls where people were complaining. We also had multiple calls and emails from folks that appreciated that we'd taken the safety interest of their child to heart. All that said, we met again today. We kind of do a debriefing. We go back over what we could have done better, and there were 2 or 3 things that we would do a little bit differently next time, and we will do some things different. But one of the things we are going to do very soon is we're going to send out a messenger to the parents, notifying them of the protocol that would be in place. In other words, that is, when there's a warning, we don't dismiss kids. We ask that you come into the building, you too participate in kneeling down and hunkering down and getting ready for this potential tornado. And the principal's dealing with a lot during that time. Like, for example, a lot of the principals told me they were going through the school, everything's okay, just calm down, don't worry, we're going to be fine. We'll be out of this in a few minutes. They're also ensuring the safety of their own employees. And so it's tough for a principal to tear themselves away from that responsibility and deal with parents who want their child to come down the hall and they want to go to the hall and retrieve their child. And there are a lot of other issues. First of all, if there's not a place to sign in and recognize who the parent is, who knows if it's a parent or anyway, or if somebody just wants to come in and perpetrate some kind of act against kids. We're not going to have that. So we will educate parents, again, on why we do what we do and ask if they cooperate. But I always think there's the potential in those cases for something to go wrong and for us to hear some bad stuff took place. But I'd ask that you rest assured that we're doing the right things, and we beat ourselves up on these, right, Paula, right, James, Angel, all you, Josh Kubley's on the safety committee, and we like to think we're doing the right thing. And any questions you got, we'll take them.
I think you mentioned this, but parents who are waiting in line to pick up their children are allowed inside the school building.
They are, but there were a couple places yesterday that typically in a code red, you're in full lockdown. You lock all the doors. And a couple of people, despite James having sent out a reminder, open the doors, let parents in, they didn't get in. And that's where we've gotten most of the flack, and rightfully so.
Okay. Questions?
I just appreciate using, the safety of our children being paramount. And I also appreciate that you take a look at the procedures at the end of it and see what you can improve on. And I just think that just makes us better and keeps our children safe, and I appreciate that.
Well, we thought it was pretty interesting yesterday, and the kind of calls we get, I think Paula or somebody got a call from somebody said, well, when you heard that morning that you were going to have tornado possibility, you should turn all the schools out then. And, you know, first of all, you never know, if one, if they're going to materialize, and secondly, if they do, the warning might be for 30 minutes, and, you know, the kids are out all day, and the parents are inconvenienced having to come home, and you know how they're going to feel about that. And that was, you know, we caught it from that angle a little bit, and a couple others, but at the end of the day, we feel like we're doing the right thing.
We would have used up all of our snow days if you land us out every time they predicted snow, so.
I think we have a good policy right
Yeah,
now. I mean,
I agree.
there are always some problems with implementation, but by and large, we did a pretty good job from everything I can tell. Any questions on that or discussion on other topics?
We actually didn't have any buildings damaged to amount to anything at all, did we, Mr. Clardy? We didn't have any buildings damaged? I didn't hear any. I checked 3 or 4. So we were lucky there because there was almost all the systems in the area outside of ours had some damage. Some was pretty substantial.
Well, Rock Springs Elementary is just around the corner from where the touchdown on Waldron Road and Blair Road, so we were fortunate in that too.
That's because we're building good buildings, right, Mr. Clardy?
Other discussion? If not, we will see you tomorrow night.